Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm so happy to have you here. So if it's your first time, thank you so much for stopping by, and if it is that you are returning, I really appreciate your time. So this channel is really about how we can share tips and tricks just to achieve our goals and on different journeys. I know we're on different journeys, so whatever I can share to help you, I will, and I hope that you do as well. Share with me, and you can leave a comment. I'll go through and read. So now today I'm gonna talk about buying a house in Jamaica. I went through this process. It was a 2-year process. 2 years. It took me 2 years for this process, and I'm gonna share some tips that I learned. Well, I'm gonna share the lessons that I learned along the way throughout this process. So first off the bat, I'm gonna share my personal experience. So in 2018, I decided that I wanted to get a home. I wanted to be a homeowner. So the first thing I did was to get the information. So backstory: I graduated university in 2016, and I said since I did not have any student loans for education, because I was blessed enough, thank God, to get scholarships to finance my university education. The only thing I had as a loan really was my car loan, and I had a 2011 Toyota Fit, and Betsy I never left me a road. So the car loan wasn't anything exorbitant. It was really manageable. So I'm like, the next step, well, the culture in Jamaica is really go to school, get a job, get a car, because they want to be mobile. They don't want to be taking the bus anymore. Who got time for that? And then hopefully get a home. And some people get married and start a family and get a home, but I wanted my own home before marriage or man or anything like that. So I'm like, 2018, I'm gonna start the process of getting my own home. Anyways, so because of that, now I know nothing about getting a home or anything like that. So the first step was to get the information. Guys, ask questions. Important. So guys, ask questions. I repeat, ask questions. It doesn't take anything. If you don't know, you ask questions. So I'm gonna walk you through the process. So because, fun fact about me, I am a planner. I write down everything. So if I'm gonna do something, I need to know. So this is my end goal, and these are the steps. These are 1, 2, 3 steps to get to my end goal. So I know in 2020 I wanted a home. So in 2018 I was gonna plan what steps, 1, 2, 3, 4 steps needed to be taken to get my home. So from that, I was able to influence my budget in terms of what my mindset was, what my habits would have to be like in order to achieve this goal. So plan ahead, budget ahead. So first step, and because I'm a planner, I literally write down everything or type up everything. So I have a spreadsheet. I don't know if you can even see it, but I have a spreadsheet for everything: business, YouTube, vision for my life, budget, loans, home, education, etc., health and wealth and all that. Excuse me. So I have a schedule for everything. So first off the bat, I ask questions, as I said. So firstly, what I did was to see how much I was qualified for. So you would know that because you would have to get a pre-qualification letter from a bank. So the beauty about what is happening in Jamaica is that because there is a program called the Joint Finance Mortgage, where if you're in Jamaica, you get to, once you contribute to National Health Fund, National Housing Trust, National Housing Trust, the NHT, you can borrow in 2020 6.5. Previously, when I was budgeting, it was $5 million from the NHT, and you can also borrow from the bank. instead of going to both the NHT and the bank, you can go to one place, which is the bank, and all the documents for both NHT and the bank are dealt with at the bank. Now, the trick about that, first tip or first pointer, the NHT only allows two persons or two contributors to pull together to get a house. So in 2020, if you and your partner were to pull together, you'll only get $13 million. So if your mother didn't use her NHT, you can't ask her for her portion, right? So that's that trick. So there's only two persons that are allowed to any one property. Now, with what I did for the process, after getting the information, I went to several banks because I needed to know who has the best interest rates, and what the processing fee, and just what the information that each bank could have given me to inform my decision. So I went to 4 banks. I went to Scotia, NCB, JN, and the VMBS, right? So based on what information they provided, which I wanted to know what interest rates are, how competitive each bank was, and their bank fees or commitment fee. So or rather the processing fee for the bank, which is based on their calculation. Don't know what the calculation was, but anyways, when you go to the bank, and our second tip, go to several banks, get the information, compare the interest rates, so you can know what your loan terms would be, what's your principal, what's the interest, the time frame, all of that. So get that information. After that, you'll be able to determine and identify how much you really can afford. So the pre-qual letter is really based on, layman term is how much you earn, how much your expenses are, and what are you left with, what can you reasonably afford, that if you were to add a mortgage cost to your expenses, that you would not be destitute. So that's how. So if you earn 100,000 and your current expenses it totals 10,000, and you want a mortgage for example 50,000, then fine, you can manage it, because you're not gonna be a pauper after you pay your mortgage, right? So consider all of that, as well as the bank takes into consideration it would be expenses which would be from your credit report, which is your other existing loans, and also your credit card. To ensure if you have a credit card, you pay, not only just pay, but you pay on time. So important. Do not incur penalties or interest. Loans or credit cards, pay on time. Learn that. Anyways, so next I'm gonna tell you what were the costs for my home, which is 19.5 that I had applied for. So the home that I wanted was for $19.5 million Jamaican dollars. So at that time the interest rate for the bank was 5.9. It was competitive, but it was the most competitive one. NHT, based on my income, it was very low as well. So I had mortgage payment included, obviously your bank's principal and interest, the NHT's principal and interest, peril insurance, which is just an insurance in the event that something happens to the house, in the event of a natural disaster or fire. So you need peril insurance, as well as life insurance in the event that you die and the bank wants their monies to be paid up. So instead of selling your property and trying to recoup the some owed to them by you, they just cash out your policy. So your life insurance has to be the same value as the property that you want to buy. So that would sum up my mortgage amount. So including, you have to consider mortgage related costs. So not because you want a house at 19.5 means you only have to borrow 19.5. There are other costs such as, so I categorize them as mortgage related costs. So I had the agreement for sale, GCT, stamp duty, registration fee, transfer tax, contract costs. Overall, that, depending on who your lawyer is and so on, can be a hefty sum. So be very mindful of that. As well as you have, other than your mortgage repayment cost, you have your bank fees, which included for me the credit bureau, which I said that if you wanted, the bank will need to know your existing loans and what type of credit do you have. So you have a credit bureau fee that was minimal, your commitment fee, which is the bank fee, which is the processing fee. You need to know how much that's gonna be, because that's for me that was a big amount. Yeah. Oh, you need your valuation and your surveyor's fee. So if you have a friend who is a surveyor or a valuator, use them. If you have a friend who's a lawyer, use them. So as I said, those are some fees that were included, and before you even consider this, you need to, before you even say you can buy somewhere, you need to consider all these costs. Trust and believe. So I thought that I only needed to save at one point, before I asked these questions about what documents and what things I needed to be saving towards, I thought I only needed a deposit, which is normally like minimal or minimum 5%. Can be any amount of money you want to place on the property to borrow less money from the bank, but minimum I was saving for 5%. At the end of it, I came to the realization that I had to save up to, so between, I think it was 10%, I said I had to move it to, but just to be safe, I said 15 to 20% deposit, just to not be stressed out, right? So it can be 5% for the deposit, but having the back of your mind that you need to save up to, or minimum 10%. Let that be your minimum 10% of the property that you like to purchase. So next, I had to consider. So the first tip is to get information. Ask questions. So if you have a lawyer, ask questions. If you have your valuator, ask questions. If you're at the bank, ask questions. If your realtor, next point, ask questions. So second point, realtor. Use a realtor. It doesn't cost you anything to use a realtor because you're the buyer. The vendor, if you're using an established realtor, pays the realtor's fees. So it's free to use a realtor. So use a realtor. And like I said, with the bank, get more than one bank, get a minimum of 3 banks. Same with a realtor, get a minimum of 3. The more the more realtors you have working for you, the better, because more options are available to you. So if you've ever watched HGTV where it asks, ma'am, what are your must-haves? Bam, bam, bam. For me, it was 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, so on. You have more people invested in your interest. So get a realtor, and you can even drive around your desired areas to see what houses are on the market. So use a realtor is point 2. Point 3, know what you really want. Know what you're willing to accept. Because yes, you can give the realtor the information, but based on what your what your pre-quality is, because this pre-quality that you get from the bank says we the bank are willing to lend you X, for example $10 million, because your income and your expenses equal to this, and we believe that a $10 million loan you can handle. This is the letter that you carry to the realtor to say, hey, I qualified for a $10 million loan and I have a 10% deposit, so I want a house valued 19.5. In the event, so no realtor will take you seriously if you don't have this pre-qualification letter. And based on that, it influences where you can live. If you have to go to Portmore, or you have to stay, or you can get somewhere in Kingston. In 2018, 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms were going for like $16 million. Now in 2020, 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms are going easily for $25 million. So know what you want, know what your must-haves are, and you have to be flexible as well, because point number 4, time is of the essence. And I was saving towards a 19.5 house, thinking that in 2018 the houses were what I wanted was for $16 million. So I'm saying by 2020 a 19.5 is not, that's a reasonable escalation cost, or that the properties would appreciate to 19.5, you know, because I'm trying to be realistic, and I'm hopeful that yes, it was 16 in 2018, but 2020 it not go past 19.5, $20 million. So if what I want I could afford at that time. Friend, as I said, 2018 it was $16 million, and no, easily it's $25 million. So time is of the essence. So the sooner you can start planning, the sooner you can start getting the information, the sooner you're able to acquire what you really want, and hopefully get what you want. So right, so I'm saying ensure you use a realtor, ensure you get the information, ensure that you budget, ensure as well that you plan properly. But the next thing I want to talk to you about is something that burned me, something that did me so bad. I would suggest that you research your developer. So not because they see a property on the market for your $19.5 million means that you're gonna just sign an agreement. When you're asking questions, just to backtrack, when you're asking questions, especially of your lawyer, ask questions regarding the terms and conditions of the contract. What is the outcome if my developer defaults, or if I default on the agreement? What are the consequences? Know the terms and conditions of that agreement. Now we can continue. Now, so my developer, I honestly believe, for want of a better phrase, it is the devil's spawn. He has several legal issues, and because of that, the development cannot be transferred, or the property cannot be transferred. So remember I said time is of the essence. So from 20, you need to know who you're dealing with, right? So ask these questions, research the developer yourself, ask your lawyer to, hey, you know any development this person did before? What is the status of it? Simple. Ask the questions, and if you see any red flags in the process, red flag, back it up. It's a reason, there are a reason for these red flags. Do not continue. You don't want your money to be tied up in a development that cannot take another step towards you owning the home. Cannot stress that enough. If you see red flags, if there are no workarounds and there are actual valid red flags, take that step back. The stress is not worth it. What else would I suggest? Oh, I would say that don't lose faith, don't lose hope. Owning a home is a must, and it's just a matter of when. Continue to save, continue to plan, continue to work your budget. Do not give up. Even if I forgot buy the land, even if we're gonna buy that land, we're gonna buy that land and make our own home, but we're gonna be homeowners. Also, as I said, get the information. I got this book, the big bad book of everything by Anna Palomino. It was really good because I was of the mindset that I wanted to, remember I said the culture, own a home and whatever, have a family and all of that jazz. It shifted my mindset from that to own a home, yes, but own a home to rent it so it can pay for itself. And I, because me alone, own a one bedroom, which is way cheaper, so I would firstly get my house, own it, rent it, make it cover its own costs, and then rent an apartment, which is obviously less than my mortgage costs, and just wait it out. So continue to do that process. So I would suggest you getting the big bag book of everything if you want to learn more things, where it says things you should have learned in school but didn't. And I think it really helped in some of the aspects in terms of owning a home. So right guys, as I said, it's obviously it's a real goal for most persons. If they want to own a home, yes, they want a little piece of the island, a piece of this rock, but be realistic, get the information, plan and budget, be patient, ask the questions, and don't give up. Don't give up. Just work your budget, work your plan, and we will get there. So thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for the time that you've taken to be with me. I know it's kind of long, but thank you again, and have a great one. See you in the next video.